So I've been trying to finish up this whole Tony Mo Game of the Year awards list thing. As I told you guys, it's going to be multiple videos across multiple categories, each category created for the games contained within it. I had hoped that I could get the ball rolling and maybe finish it up in the first couple weeks of January, but I've come to accept that it's probably going to take the first 2 months of 2018 for us to make a video for each and every one of these lists, and you know what? I'm absolutely freaking okay with that. If we spend the first 2 months of 2018 not just talking about the things that are exciting in the early parts of 2018, but talking about the things that existed in 2017 that we should still be talking about in 2018, then I'm okay with that. I think the industry moves at such a fast pace that the consumer has started to move at an even faster pace, and in turn the industry is moving at an even faster pace, and there's this constant rush to get to the next big thing rather than savoring the wonderful experiences that had already been created and that often still deserve playtime and discussion time and lie currently right before us. There were many games in 2017 that I think we could continue to talk about for years to come, let alone spending some time in the first 2 months of 2018 talking about them. So that's exactly how I'm going to be handling my Game Awards for the next 2 months. So if you want to join me on this journey and potentially learn something about a game that you passed up in 2017 that you can now be excited for in 2018, we'll get locked and loaded because we're going to kick things off today, very fittingly, with a list of 3 games that I simply didn't have time to play in 2017, but that I am still looking forward to experiencing before 2018 is gone and done. Hell, before I'm gone and done. These are games that are going to stay on my list for a very long time. In fact, 2 of which I own. And the first one, I also extensively watched over on Twitch. That game is Nioh. Nioh was the game that was supposed to be just another Souls-like. It's just Dark Souls in a Japanese aesthetic, Tony. They're just ripping off Dark Souls. Screw these guys. Oh, how Nioh ended up being so much more than that. A unique and detailed combat system that allowed for an incredible amount of diversity from player to player, that Japanese aesthetic, which is oh so beautiful, and a more dungeon-style crawl experience than an open or segmented world like you might get in Dark Souls or Bloodborne. Nioh defied all expectations. It is a game that I want to play so near and dear. It's a game that I spent so much time watching people stream on Twitch that I feel as if I've actually played it myself. And I think one of the coolest things about watching Nioh across the perspective of many streamers was seeing how they all played the game differently. It's one thing that the Dark Souls games were always really good for watching. People with different builds and different character types, different weapons and different ways of playing the game. That sort of diversity is fantastic, and when you can jump from one stream to the next and see a completely different combat style in Nioh, it really makes you say to yourself, I can't wait to find what I would like to play the game with, or how I would play the game. So Nioh sits there on my PlayStation 4, ready for the day I can sit down and seriously sink some time into it. But even then, Nioh will be a game much like Dark Souls, the Souls series as a whole, that I never actually worry about finishing. If I can put 40 hours in Nioh, 20 hours, 15 hours in Nioh, and enjoy those 15 to 20 hours or whatever it may be, I'll be happy. That was really the thing for me with Dark Souls 3. I never finished the game, but I put about 60 hours into it, and all 60 of those hours were glorious moments indeed. Knowing that I can always go back to Dark Souls and maybe finish it in my olden age or something like that, that's a really cool feeling. A feeling that we don't get from many modern experiences, and a feeling that is definitely rare to find even in old school experiences. Moving on, we've got Sniper Elite 4 by Rebellion. Honestly, if Rebellion painted a pile of poo, managed to print it on a disc, and then shipped it out the doors of their production office, I would probably still buy it. I love these guys to death, and the original Sniper Elite was one of my all-time favorite games on the OG Xbox. It's a game that I played far more than I ever should have been able to, and it's a game that I think managed to sort of conjure up more replayability than I think Rebellion themselves ever even thought it had when they built it. There was just something about the core simulation that existed within Sniper Elite. The idea of shooting people from far away and having to compensate for wind and bullet drop was something that just hadn't really been done in that type of an environment before. In fact, it was only really being done in hardcore PC sim shooters that most people weren't playing, especially if you only owned an original Xbox or a PlayStation 2 or something like that. It was new, it was different, and it was addictive to the point where I had played through the campaign solo multiple times and in 2-player co-op, which really just gave you another player and mirrored the exact same experience. There was very little in the way of character, But it didn't really matter because all in all, you were just concerned about shooting people in the face from really far away, all while masking your shot under the guise of a passing airplane or bomber or a nearby explosion. It was a game that embraced stealth in a way that we hadn't really seen in many shooters on the market. I mean, the biggest stealth game for that generation was Splinter Cell, where you walked around with Nerf guns that knocked people out and silenced pistols going pew-pew everywhere. The idea of suppressing a shot that was extremely loud under an explosion or a passing plane was exhilarating, sometimes difficult, and really fresh. Sniper Elite would go on, it would grow and grow, V2, Sniper Elite 3, and most recently, Sniper Elite 4. When I watched Rebellion showcase Sniper Elite 4 for the first time, it was very clear that the evolution of the franchise had sort of come full circle. It was still embracing all the things that made Sniper Elite, but it was now developing the game into a full-blown stealth experience, one where you were laying down traps, tracking enemy movements, and in a lot of ways, it always looked like Sniper Elite 4 was going to be Metal Gear Solid 5 Sniper Elite Edition, and I was always super okay with that. So the game is one of those games that I have not purchased, but it's a game that I so near and dearly want to sit down and play. Unfortunately, it's going to be very difficult in 2018 because Rebellion is also working on a 4-player co-op experience called Strange Brigade, which looks unique, strange, and fantastic. This is very much, I think, a project based on what they learned with the zombie sniper expansions they did. Basically, standalone games, 4-player co-op, kill zombies, Sniper Elite mechanics, bullet time, all of that goodness where you can see inside of the zombie's head. Yeah, they did that, and I think they learned a lot about that, and Strange Brigade is the evolution of that. It's them saying, look, we're making an original IP out of this, we're doing something special, check it out. The reason I love Rebellion so much, outside of the fact that they make games that are greater than you'd ever expect them to be, is that they exist, again, in that sort of AA middle market platform that I want to see return. I want to see more successful games like that, and 2017 was a good year for that, with games like Hellblade, Nier Automata, which is also given a AA budget, and Sniper Elite 4 definitely fits right up there. So if you haven't played it, well, join the club and put it on your radar for 2017. It's got some pretty expansive campaign components. It's got co-op, it's got player versus player. It's the full package. And considering you'll probably be able to pick it up for like $30 or $40 in 2018, keep it on your radar if you like shooting stuff from far away or setting a cool trap for some guy who's 3 feet away from you. Last, but definitely not least on my list, is a little game called Hellblade. The game from Ninja Theory. Coincidentally enough, I was just playing the Devil May Cry reboot the other day and remembering how much I love that game. Made me want to play Hellblade even more, even though Hellblade is a far cry from Devil May Cry. This game. Let's just say I feel ashamed for having not played Hellblade yet. It is a game I actually own. I bought a copy of it pretty much immediately and kind of had mixed feelings initially from some of the things I heard about it. Knew that it was short, but that it was very story and narrative driven and emotionally driven, and there was like a lot of psychological elements, and I was like, oh, I need to play this now. I instantly, all my thoughts were turned around. I'm like, I want to play this, but I also heard that it was, again, relatively brief, and it felt like the game that I knew I needed to sit down and play in one sitting. The reason the Telltale games, the Walking Dead Telltale games, were so special to me was because I would sit down and play each and every episode in one clean sitting, experience it all, and feel like I had been told the whole story in one sitting. I could stay emotionally attached to the characters, move from one point to the next, and just keep that emotional roller coaster going. I knew that I didn't have the time for Hellblade after it released, and I wouldn't have the time for some time until 2018 potentially, with the moving in the house and all these other things that were going on. So I found myself in a position where I just cast it aside. I knew that I'd bring it up for a rainy day when I could sit down and play through the entire thing and really embrace and enjoy all of its mental manipulative moments. So there Hellblade sits. Another example of a shining AA middle market experience from a developer that deserves all the praise they get and more from the creations they make. May we have many more developers in products like Hellblade and Sniper Elite 4 and Nier Automata in 2018. But I will sit here, at least hopefully for the next couple months until I can find some time, maybe around my birthday, to play Hellblade with Hellblade plus Sniper Elite 4 and Neo, all on my wall of shame for 2017. Feel free to share your current wall of shame for 2017. What games did you not play in 2017 despite being absolutely obsessed with from the moment you saw them and well after that? Are you going to make time for them in 2018? Do you own them? Do you not own them yet? Let me know down in the comment section below. This is the sort of thing that, as people who play games, people who share this hobby, you know, we need to get off our chests every now and then. So have a little bit of an intervention, talk about these games, and remind everybody else that You know they're awesome, you just haven't had the time to play them yet. I'll see you guys tomorrow for more content, and of course we'll be continuing this massive list of categories. The next thing we're actually going to be stumbling onto is a little category I'm calling Your Loss. We're just going to take a look at 4 games which I believe were criminally underrated. I shouldn't say underrated, I should say undersold. These are games that were pretty well received in terms of their ratings and criticisms, but they didn't sell nearly as well as they should have. They're games that sometimes fit into a genre that maybe isn't as popular as it once was, but that still exists in extraordinary fashion. I'll see you for that. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to play smart, remember to play to challenge yourself, but most importantly, remember to play for fun.